most of the time I find a photograph and it speaks to me in a different way, and then I start the process with a lot of different layers. And I never know exactly how I want it to be when I start. It sort of happens. And I think that's the beauty of creating art. You can know where you're going, but it comes to you. Hello everyone, I'm Linnea Frank and welcome to my home studio. So this is where all the magic happens, or at least some of it. And I have my little photo studio and some new art pieces. I then my computer. A lot of times when I make my art, it all starts from a photograph and I then add a lot of layers in the computer and then I transfer it to the metal. How South Africa has influenced my work. I think it's influenced in so many different ways. First of all there's so many beautiful people and energies and the nature and the light. I mean, everything, like I would literally say everything with South Africa is absolutely fantastic. And I mean, before South Africa, I never made any art pieces of animals. And after going to my first safari, I'm just like, wow. So I think that there's just something with South Africa that inspires you. And I can't put my finger on just one thing. It's literally everything. It's the energy in the air. That's the best how I can put it. So when it comes to the process of making my art pieces, it's quite a hard one to sort of just put the finger on, because it's not something in particular that makes me like, oh, we're going to do this. Like most of the time it's a look, if it's a model, it's can be a look of the face, the posture they're making or anything. When it's an animal, most of the time it's the power in it. And when it's lions, it's just power. But so most of the time I find a photograph and it speaks to me in a different way, and then I start the process with a lot of different layers. And I never know exactly how I want it to be when I start. It sort of happens. And I think that's the beauty of creating art. You can know where you're going, but it comes to you. This is one of my newest pieces, geborene, and I literally just received her on metal. And it's always very special when you see them on metal for the first time, because the picture or the art piece comes to life in a different way, I think, compared to if you see it on your computer screen or on normal print. Because the cool thing with metal is that it shines through the print, and everything that was white in the picture becomes the metal. So depending on where you stand or where you light it, it comes out in a different way, which I love. And with her, I also had a sister, Carissa, that I made at the same time, and they go very nice together. So how I started with the art, when I went to school, I studied photography, and I started playing around with a lot of different layers in the darkroom. And I just fell in love with layers, and that's how I do my art now. But after school, I was working as an assistant for about 3 years. And after that, I opened up my own studio. And then one day my mom calls me and saying that there's a big exhibition happening in the south of Sweden, which is a tradition that's been going on for many years. And she said, why don't you take some of your new art pieces that you made and exhibit it? And I'm like, interesting, cool, why not? So I took my newest art pieces with some photographs as well and had my first exhibition. I think it was 2010, and I loved it, and I continued ever since. I love life as an artist. There's so much freedom in your work. I literally do what my heart tells me to do. But to become an artist and actually start living on it, I think you always have to have a side hustle. And I've been a photographer since, 13 years back. And because I got into that was what I lived on when I started with my art. So you can always play around with the art, but always have an income somewhere else. And over the years, it's become more and more art. And then now I think it's almost like 50-50 with photography and art. And I think that's an amazing thing to live on. Yeah. So what's my goal for the future? I think I just want to continue creating art, and I think every year I get into like a different type of mood in my art, because obviously it depends on where you are in life and how you're feeling and all of that. But I also want to focus and make a couple of more one-off art pieces, because I find it quite interesting that it just exists one. But it will have to take a little time. I've done one so far, but more will come. But it needs to be right, and it needs to feel right. So we'll see.